Good afternoon, everybody. I am so thrilled to be hosting this discussion about superyachts. And people may wonder, what do superyachts have to do with Tomorrow.City, USA? And we know that superyachts are at the bleeding edge of innovation. But before we start, I would like for Jonathan Beckett, CEO of Burgess, to introduce himself, and then Emmanuel, tell us a little bit about both of you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jonathan Beckett. Everyone calls me Joff. That's my nickname. I've been working in the superyacht industry for 45 years, and in fact, I've been in the same job for 45 years. I was the second person into our company, Burgess, in 1981, and today I now own the business. I sold a big chunk of the business last year. And we're now about 300 people, and we have 18 offices around the world. And we're a 360 company. We do everything from crewing, management, insurance, selling, buying, building. We do the whole gambit, and it's been a great career, and I've loved every minute of it. And I always say it's the first 45 years, so looking forward to the next 45.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Akintuende. I'm the founder and managing director of GF Entertainment. We are a very bespoke entertainment and event company, primarily serving the superyacht industry. We've been serving the industry for 9 years now, not quite as much as 45, sorry, guys. But I've been running the company for 11 years. And I've been an entrepreneur for 19 years. So I'm catching up with you, Joff.
So let's start with who are some of your clients at Burgess, and what do they want from these experiences out in the sea with these extraordinary ships that are being built and the innovation? I mean, these are the 1% of the 1%. Tell us a little bit about that experience out in the sea.
I mean, you're right in saying we deal with the 1% of the 1%, and we're dealing with a very narrow marketplace and very interesting and demanding clients. And I think what yachting today does is it creates an environment where people can go on vacations or go exploring in privacy with their friends and their family. And it's really a very special place where all the family, the family will come together, grandparents, parents, grandchildren, and they'll either want to do the traditional sort of cruising in the Caribbean or cruising in the Mediterranean to Saint-Tropez and Portofino. Or more recently, we're getting more adventurous clients who want to go up the Amazon or down to the Antarctic and doing much more adventurous things. And I think that will be the future of the next generation coming through. And it's going to be a really exciting time.
So these are people who have access to everything and anything. And tell us a little bit about, actually, let's talk about the ship innovation, because I think that what people don't realize is that superyachts are at the cutting edge at the level of space and everywhere, quantum and all these things, anything that's like leaning into the future. You've got these massive, you've got a massive infrastructure out, but it's got to be sleek and sustainable. And now we're talking about AI. I mean, you have to be able to deliver the best of the best out there. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think for us, it's all about making the impossible possible. And at Burgess, we've been very fortunate. We operate from the very top end down. And we've been involved in the design and building of 4 or 5 of the world's largest yachts. And these are incredible vessels. They take 5 years to build. They cost somewhere between 600 and 700 million euros, so nearly $1 billion per yacht. And they are truly floating palaces. And today, it's all about innovation. It's about creating a sustainable vessel that will be future-proofed going forwards. And unlike the aircraft industry, where you have a Boeing 737 or you have a a Gulfstream, it's a known product and it's a known design. Our vessels start from a clean sheet of paper, and everyone is different, and that's what's exciting, seeing the vessel being designed and engineered and eventually built, and it's an amazing process.
Now, Emmanuel, you are in the experiences world. I don't know if yesterday you heard Vivek Ranadive, one of the Sacramento Kings, talking about the future of experiences, and how he was using AI and next-gen tech to build cognitive cities and maybe anticipating everything that his fans would want. And tell us a little bit about the experiences that you're building out in the sea.
Yeah, no. So a lot of experiences that we do primarily is providing A-list talent for landmark birthdays for these guys, as long as they can afford it, of course, which they can. But the main thing is we started creating a number of very unique experiences where, for instance, there's one called an immersive piano add-on experience where a client takes their favorite film, whether that's Titanic, probably wrong example to use in this scenario, or Gladiator, Interstellar. They'll take that favorite film and we'll have a Grammy-nominated pianist who would then play the live score soundtrack of that film whilst they're watching it in real time. And that can happen on board the super yacht, which we do quite a lot of. But these vessels are being created for the purpose of experiences being at the central part of it. So, like for instance, there's a yacht, 88-meter yacht, which you're able to project on the sails of the yacht, and you can watch your film on the sail of the yacht whilst you're in the middle of the Mediterranean. And it's just so surreal to be able to kind of imagine that, talk less, see it, and be there and experience it itself. So that's one of the main things that we try to do. We try to just, like Geoff said, is making the impossible possible, but at the same time, creating memories and lasting memories and allowing people to kind of live in that moment, which is not, unfortunately, opportune to some of us.
So, Geoff, when we were speaking earlier, you were saying that while the yacht industry has been obviously flush with cash, it's for the 1% of the 1%. You also were talking about how it's a little bit behind, and we're at a conference talking about cities, future of cities, but also like how we're transforming legacy infrastructure, making cities future ready. You used the word future proof just now. Tell us a little bit about how the industry is evolving.
Well, I think people imagine, because of the amounts of money in our industry, that it develops very quickly and it's an advanced industry, whereas in fact in our sector of the super yacht industry, there's only 330 super yachts delivered in 1 year. So if you take the motor industry, I'm not sure how many motor cars are delivered in 1 year, but it's certainly millions upon millions. And so the amount of time, energy, money in design and development in the automotive industry is huge compared to the super yacht industry. Everyone wants to know what's the next propulsion system. How do we go greener? How do we become more environmentally friendly? And it's down to each individual owner, really, and the shipyard and the designer and the technician to slowly and gradually develop that. But it's a very small industry compared to the motor industry or even the aircraft industry.
Are you seeing?
So to latch onto that as well, and we are very far from a lot of the things that Geoff mentioned, but at the same time we are getting there. Like for instance, there's now the first ever hydrogen-fueled super yacht that was curated, and that's now been handed over to the owner. So as much as we are very much behind as a super yacht industry, we are doing what we can do on our best to try and get to a point where we are either more economically friendly and sustainable, but at the same time tapping into innovation that is not opportune.
Are more clients demanding that? Do you see that?
I think more and more clients demanding, to be more environmentally friendly, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting. We're going through the first tier of clients, if you like. When I first started my career, the word super yacht didn't exist, and it was a glorified form of camping in these sort of older style boats, and people shared bathrooms, and they were noisy and they were smelly. Today, they're luxury palaces on the water. But I think the next generation, so the average age of a super yacht owner today, I think, is in his mid-60s. I think in 10 years' time, they'll be sort of late 40s, and the next generation down will have a very different idea of how they're going to go yachting. I think they'll be much more adventurous. They'll be much more environmentally friendly. They'll want to, have a very different style of being on the water to what their parents have had.
And you were talking about the cost of building these ships. Are you seeing a change given, sort of next-gen materials and technologies to either build ships faster and less costly?
It's very difficult to build it faster. And the cost of construction, sadly, has gone up quite significantly over the last 10 years. Cost of sort of raw materials and things. But we are definitely seeing, things like leather paneling created out of pineapple skin and things like that. So bamboo floors and, a lot of innovation sort of coming in that area to make the whole vessel much more environmentally acceptable.
And where are some of the top shipyards where these are built?
The top shipyards are in the Netherlands and Germany. So if you want a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley, you would definitely go to either the Netherlands or to Germany. But Italy is by far the most prolific yacht building country in the world. They built a huge number of super yachts there. And then Turkey. And sadly, in the United Kingdom or the United States of America, there is virtually no super yacht building.
We have limitations on basic shipbuilding, so I'm not actually that surprised by it. Emmanuel, as you think about, I know super yachting is all year long, but summer's approaching and everyone's going to be out in the Mediterranean. What experiences are you putting together right now that we should, I know there's some of them confidential, but give us something that could be super exciting.
No comment. No, I'm joking. There are a few things that we're doing. I can talk about some of the things that we have done in the summer, but obviously we can't go too much into what we are currently doing because of NDAs and all that good stuff. So we've had the opportunity to book one of the biggest bands in the world. I'll leave that to your discretion to kind of figure out what band that is. And that was for a very special 70th birthday party for a client of ours who then obviously booked Andrea Bocelli, Ashley Graham to host it, and a few other big names. But in terms of this summer, obviously, we all know it's the Mediterranean, it's Croatia, but at the same time, it's trying to basically bring about great things on board the yachts that the clients want to do. So, yeah.
And for you, Joff, you've been in the business for 45 years. You have seen every experience, many that you probably can't talk about for sure. But one of the things I was just curious as we close on this is, many of these yachts now are, you said the age has changed and many of them are using them as their offices. They need all this connectivity. So when you think about the experiences, and you said future-proof, like how far in advance do you have to think in terms of the technology to ensure that the experiences on the ships are going to, because it takes a year to build, it's so expensive. How do you know what's going to be the next technology to pull in and make sure the boats are ready?
It's very, very difficult, and trying to ensure that the types of fuel that are burnt, that you've got machinery that can go from heavy diesel fuel to biofuels to hydrogen, which we talked about, which hasn't been a huge success at the moment, the hydrogen propulsion, sadly, but it's a good effort that somebody has tried to do it. And now I think various people are looking at nuclear power, for example, which sounds quite frightening to me, but actually it's probably or possibly the future. So it's going to be really, really methanol. It's going to be really interesting. So we're looking at trying to install, machinery in the boats that will be able to be converted over to different types of fuels in the future. But you're quite right. I mean, when I first started, people would go cruising for 1 or 2 weeks on their boats. Then they'd have to go back to the office. Today, they'll possibly move on their boats for up to 6 months a year. And they have all the facilities there, you know, all the sort of communications and conference rooms. And, you know, they've got their gym. They've got a helicopter landing pad where they can fly off and go to watch their soccer team play football, or go to a board meeting back in Chicago, and it's become a second home as opposed to just a sort of, you know, a vacation. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining us. I hope that we all get to join you on one of your yachts and experiences soon. But you really are, you know, super yachts are at the forefront of R&D and innovation, and it's really appropriate as we think about cities of tomorrow. And we're really grateful that you're both here. So thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.